What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Freakbaits. My name is Jesse, and today we're going to make another awesome lure. How do I know that it's awesome? Because technically I already made it and shipped it out and it's been received. So, yeah. But today's video is about more than just the lure itself. It's actually about the story behind it. It's a story about a guy named Charles, but those who know him best call him Chuck. But before we jump into that, let me tell you about the bait that we're going to make, or already made. You see, Chuck's an avid walleye fisherman, so we're going to make a deep diving crankbait, and we're going to paint it to look somewhat like the fish in his favorite lake. So without further ado, let's get into the build and the story. Thanks for being here. So I think the best way to tell you the story of Chuck would be in the words of his daughter Tanya, so I'm just going to read you exactly what she sent me. Chuck's passion for fishing and the great outdoors started at a young age, just like many other dedicated fishermen. Fishing has always been a big part of his family, and he was holding a fishing pole not long after taking his first steps. Some of Chuck's earliest memories involve walking with his uncle and brothers to local farm ponds in southwest Ohio. As he grew up, his love for fishing grew with him into adulthood. Annual fishing trips became the highlight of his summers, especially with his buddies Kenny, Mike, Gino, Andy, Johnny, and Saint. Saint, what a cool name. Wish my name was Saint. To this day, several of them can be found on Chuck's boat, showing us all what retirement should look like. Chuck's favorite fish to catch include walleye, crappie, bass, northern pike, bluegill, saugeye, catfish, and trout. Just like his dad and uncle taught him when he was young, Chuck Sr. passed on his love of fishing to his son, Chuck Jr., or Chucky, and his daughter, Tanya. Tanya still remembers her excitement when she got her first red and black Zebco, just like her little brother. They spent a lot of time at smaller lakes and ponds in the area, but also ventured up north to try their luck around the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Chuck is a longtime member of a local sportsman club and continues to share his love of fishing with his 3 grandkids. Chuck has always been an active guy, hardly ever sitting still. Years of hard work and sacrifice to provide for his family and give them the opportunities he didn't have growing up have taken a toll on him. This year's fishing season will start late as he recovers from back surgery. This custom bait will serve as a reminder that he'll be back on the water soon, surrounded by those who care about him and those that still need him to bait their hooks. AKA Tanya. So yeah, I can't think of a better candidate to receive an awesome bait that looks great and works fantastically, so that's exactly what we're going to give to Chuck today. But first, some carving ASMR. Now, normally I dip all of my baits in polyurethane in order to seal the wood, but I have seen a lot of people use super thin super glue in order to do it, which makes sense. Super glue is actually a better wood sealer than polyurethane because it soaks into the wood. It's a harder bond with the wood itself, and it actually, like, you can sand it for a little while before you get through that super glue. So there's no water that's going to get into this bait. The only drawback to that is sometimes super glue can leave a pretty rough finish, as you can see here a little bit. Those white spots, they're not uncovered, they're just spots that kind of crustied up. But that's kind of worth it whenever you take into account that super glue is cured in a couple of seconds, up to a minute, where polyurethane takes about 12 hours to fully cure. And you know, it's nothing a little sanding or a lot of sanding can't fix. So like I said before, we're painting this bait to mimic the bait fish in quote-unquote Chuck's secret fishing spot. Don't ask me where it's at, I have no idea. But side note, Chuck, if you ever want to hook a brother up, let me know. The specific color direction I was given is grays, silvers, iridescent, shiny. And that was pretty much it. The rest was left up to me, which I've got no complaints about, so I just kind of started painting and let the creative juices flow. Ultimately, we ended up with a base coat of dark gray on the top, medium gray on the sides, and a white belly. And before you know it, we're ready for the first clear coat. I mixed in a little bit of interference silver to really lean into that sparkly, shiny, iridescent look that the customer's looking for. Now back to the creative juices. For the scales on this, I wasn't really sure where I was going with it when I started, but I trusted my instincts and just kind of let the paint fly to see what would happen. So I started off with a heavy coat of Createx Wicked Aluminum, followed by some metallic black at the top. And that was really all I wanted to do with the scales at this point. Now, painting the gills is probably simultaneously my most favorite and least favorite step in the painting process, because it's where you really see the bait start to come to life. But man, if you mess up, it can really turn things sideways. Thankfully on this one, it went really well, and I'm really happy with how the gills turned out in the long run. So the color that I'm using here is actually Wicked Fastback Green, but I think there might be something wrong with the bottle that I have, because I don't know that it's supposed to look this blue. But I'm not mad at it because it worked well in this application. It's got that nice blue tint with gold sparkle to it. Sparkle? Is that what you call it? Iridescence? Metallic? No? Anyway. Somebody once asked me, how do I get so much detail into the gills? And my answer to them was, I poke it with a really fine paintbrush until it looks right. And that's about as well as I can explain it. Sometimes it only takes a few minutes. Sometimes it takes a good long while in multiple colors. Luckily this time it wasn't too terribly long. So for the fins, I really wanted a gray base to it with a darker outline. So I did the gray coat, and then just along the edges added some jet black, and I really like how the fins turned out on this one. At this point, I feel like we've got a great looking bait on our hands, but it needs a little something more. So going back to that technique of poking it with a paintbrush until it looks right, I decided to add some spots as a lateral line down the scales. Now, I started off with a single row and then kind of adjusted it a little bit. And then I thought, you know, this looks good, but I think it would look better if I expanded it to the rows of scales that are adjacent to that main row. And I'm glad I did, because I feel like it gave a much more natural look to the bait and ended up looking great. Depending on the situation, I'll either paint my own glass eyes, or if I've got an eye that matches the bait, I will use a pre-made eye. In this case, I used a pre-made one because it had a great holographic look to it, and I thought it looked really good on this bait. So I went with that one. And at last, we're ready for the final clear coat. Now this is probably the most rewarding step in the bait making process, because you really get to see what the finished bait is going to look like. And by you, I mean me, because you know I'm going to make you wait for the big reveal. But first, a word from today's sponsor. How did I get a sponsor for my second YouTube video? That's a great question, let me tell you. I didn't. Today's sponsor is me, Freakbaits. So today's video is brought to you by Freakbaits.com. Freakbaits.com is your one-stop shop for everything Freakbaits, including our new Slim Thick Glide Bait, as well as some sweet merch like these hats, or I've just dropped a brand new hat that has a throwback style logo, even though Freakbaits didn't exist in a time that could be considered throwback. That's not important. Anyway, you've got hats, you've got shirts, hoodies, anything you could possibly want. So please go check it out. I'm actually giving one of these hats to Chuck so that he has something to shade his eyes whenever he's out there slaying the walleye. Again, the link is in the description below, or you can just go to freakbaits.com. That's freak with 2 E's. And don't forget, if you don't see anything that you like on the website, I have a custom order request form that you can fill out and let me know what you're looking for. Maybe we can work together and figure out something that's gonna slay the fish in your local waters. It's a great way to support the channel and look good while doing it. But enough of that, back to the big reveal. Now it's time to test this sucker and see how she flies. As soon as my kiddie pool fills up. I have plans for a more professional looking test tank, but this will have to do for now. Now I can tell as I'm doing this thing really wants to dig hard, which is good. I'm having to hold it up because I'm working with like 8 inches of water here. But I know on a long cast or even trolling, this thing's going to get down there where the walleye are for sure. Last but certainly not least, it's time to give this beautiful bait a home. Every single custom bait that I make ships out in a wooden box that's laser cut by some friends of mine, and I custom cut the foam insert to make sure that everything fits snugly in shipping and that the bait's not bouncing around getting scratched up. So here's a little look at that process. It's a little tedious, but well worth it. Each box also doubles as a display stand, so with every shipment I include a couple of acrylic stands that you can snap into the lid of the box and use it as a display stand if you aren't fishing with it. I also name every single bait, and for this specific situation, I couldn't think of a more fitting name for Chuck's bait than the Comeback. Well, that's it. Chuck, if you're watching this, I sincerely wish you a speedy recovery, and I cannot wait to see the monster walleye that you're able to catch with your new lure. And to everyone else, if you like what you saw here, don't be afraid to curb stomp that like button and roundhouse kick that subscribe button right in its daggum face. And if you know somebody that has a great comeback story in the making like Chuck's, and you'd like to get a one-of-a-kind custom lure built for them, don't be afraid to DM me on Instagram. I'm not quite to the place where I can do this for free yet, but I'm willing to work with you. That's all for now. Thank you all for being here. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the support, and we'll see you next time.